Hi. If you've been thinking about making a bit of money on the side, or being your own boss, or doing something less stressful and more interesting, or perhaps even gallivanting around the world, then teaching English online could be just what you're looking for. Hi there, my name is John Kleitz. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I went expat in 2008. Since then, I've lived in Brazil, though I've also traveled around a bit. In fact, I'm currently traveling in Colombia, recording this in lovely Medellin. And that's a point worth noting. You may just want to teach online from wherever you live now. That's fine. But you might instead want to go live in another country. But to do that, you'd need a way to support yourself. Or you may want to travel the world as a serial expat. And that, in fact, is what I'm working toward. Some of my students now call me Gypsy John. Teaching English online allows you to do all these things. Let me give you a quick recap of how I began teaching English and teaching online. As I said, I left the U.S. in 2008. I'd taken some hits during the financial crisis, and I decided that what I needed was a do-over. I loved Brazil, knew Brazil, so I decided to try a stint living there. I relocated to Rio de Janeiro and began teaching English. I did very well, but I became a victim of my own success. I was teaching almost 30 hours a week, adding in prep time, plus traveling to give classes in my students' homes and offices, sitting around waiting to start the next class. I was working a lot of hours each week. It just wasn't the life I had envisioned. So I decided to get out of Rio, and I moved to a small town a few hours south of Rio called Paraty. It's a lovely colonial town. Tourism is big there, so I figured I'd find a lot of work teaching English. But I'd miscalculated. I found, in fact, very little teaching work. So what was I going to do to support myself? Well, I contacted some former students in Rio about taking classes online. At the same time, I met a couple of folks from São Paulo and started giving them classes by Skype. This was right at the beginning of 2012. At that time, the idea of taking classes online was still pretty new in Brazil. But gradually, I added students through word of mouth, and now I don't have any face-to-face classes. I mean, you can certainly do both, but I found that I prefer teaching online. I just wanted to share a little bit about myself with you so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. I've been there and done it, and I'm still doing it as I travel around. I've learned how to teach effectively and also efficiently, and I have very loyal students, some of whom I've been teaching for years. I know how to teach online, and I'm going to teach you how to do it too. So obviously you bought this program, or you're considering buying it, with the intention of teaching online. But you may have some lingering doubts. You may be asking yourself, can I really do this? The answer is almost certainly yes. If you are a native speaker of English or near native, then you've already jumped the first hurdle. You may never have thought of your ability to teach English as a valuable skill, but believe me, it definitely is. You have a skill that literally hundreds of millions of people around the world want and are willing to pay for. Teaching English online is a great job for many types of people. Here are just some which immediately come to mind. For retirees, teaching English online is a great way to pick up some extra money while sharing your career knowledge and life experience. Pretty frequently I'm asked, am I too old to teach English? And I reply that no, there are many people out there who would value your experience. In fact, with many students, you would actually have more credibility than would younger teachers, although there's a place for them as well. For stay-at-home moms and dads, if you have a window during the day when the kids are at school or napping, then teaching English online is a great way to make some additional money and have some contact with other adults. Keep your skills sharp in case you decide to re-enter the job market one day. Teaching English online can be a great alternative if you're currently unemployed. I know that good jobs aren't just dangling from trees, and maybe you haven't found that perfect job yet. You may never have thought about teaching English online, but it might be a great way to make some money and to stay busy and sane while you're looking for something long-term. Frankly, when I began teaching English, I didn't expect to be doing it for so long, but I found that I like it, I'm good at it, and by teaching online, I have a lot more freedom than most people do. Recent grads, not sure what you want to do for the next 40 or 45 years? Would you like to enjoy a year off maybe before jumping into your career and joining the 9 to 5, getting married, buying a house, raising kids, and joining the PTA? Teaching English online can be a great way to fund some adventurous exploration, allowing you to earn while you travel around. Current students, teaching English online is a great way to pick up some cash, and it will likely fit into your schedule better than would most other part-time jobs. It's also going to be a lot more enjoyable than most part-time jobs too, I can promise you. When I was a student, I had several different jobs, and most of them just weren't very much fun. Teaching English online, by contrast, is enjoyable. And now, I want to speak to the gypsies out there. If you suffer from incurable wanderlust, as I do, teaching English online could be just the ticket. It's as portable a career as you'll find. You can travel and still work to support your travels. When you move from one place to another, you don't lose your client base, so there's no need to start over. You can become a serial expat if you wish. I'm doing it, and you can too. The fact is, if you speak English well, you can probably teach it online. Even if you've never taught anything before, this course will teach you what you need to know to go out and deliver great classes. In fact, there are many advantages to teaching online compared to traditional jobs and even compared to teaching English face-to-face. First, the pay is pretty decent. Now, sure, you're not going to get rich teaching English online, it's true. Teaching in general is not going to make you rich. But the pay is generally decent, and I'll give you tips to help you maximize your earnings, for example, by playing internet arbitrage. You get to work from home. You don't have to go out in crappy weather. There's no commute and no morning traffic to fight. Imagine not arriving to work angry because some idiot cut you off. Imagine the time and money you'd save. Also, not having to travel to classes means that you can have classes in a relaxed environment, your home. And when class is done, you can quickly turn to another activity with no commute home. You get to work at a time which suits you. No matter which hours you have available to teach, there are people out there somewhere who want to have classes with you. If you're an early bird or a night owl, the students are there, whether in Latin America, Europe, or Asia. I now have classes later than I did when I taught face-to-face classes because when I'm done, I just turn off Skype and open Netflix. You can be the boss. If you go out on your own, finding your own students, then you become your own boss. You teach the students you want, turn away the ones you don't want, and work the schedule you choose. You set your rates and your policies. This is my life now, and it's not a bad existence. If I'm honest, teaching English online just isn't that hard. More than that, teaching English online is generally enjoyable work. I mean, is your current job enjoyable? Was your last job? I truly enjoy teaching. That's why I've stuck with it for so many years. I compare it to some other jobs that I've had, and believe me, teaching English online looks pretty good. Yes, it is a job. I have to prepare. I have to show up. But compared to some of the jobs you see advertised in the Sunday One ads, teaching English online looks pretty darn good. As my friend Damon says, I've worked for a living and I've taught English. Teaching English is better. There are other reasons for teaching English online. For one, it's interesting. Teaching English is not all about teaching grammar. With my students, I've read about healthy eating and various countries we would like to travel to and ancient archaeological sites, even about gene therapy. I reread Lost Horizon with a student. My students and I discuss world affairs. I learn while my students learn. It's inexpensive and easy to get started teaching English online. In the next section, I'll talk about the equipment that you need to get started, but it isn't that much. You likely already have most of what you need. Also, there's really no need to spend years and thousands of dollars. So if you compare teaching English online to most traditional brick-and-mortar businesses or to most careers, it's without question cheaper and faster to get started. Without question. You'll build relationships. Now, this is an intangible, I know, and it may sound all trite and gooey, but I count many of my students as friends. In fact, in March this year, I took time off to travel and to develop this course, and during my travels, I met a group of my students in Rio and another group in Sao Paulo. Some I'd met face-to-face before, but for others, it was our first actual face-to-face meeting. And it's a very cool feeling to have a group of people gathered around you, people who view you as someone special in their lives. For those of you who currently teach English face-to-face, I think, again, that teaching online is better for many reasons. Yes, it's true that there are some drawbacks. Sometimes the connection might be poor. Some activities are more difficult to do online than in person. But there are also many advantages. As noted already, it's more convenient. No more dealing with going to class in the rain, for example. You'll also save on transportation costs and, what's even more important, time lost to traveling to class, which can be very significant. When you travel to students' homes and offices to give classes, it's difficult to schedule back-to-back classes. But working online, it's easy. Also, folks who are introverted may find that teaching online is more comfortable for them than would be face-to-face classes. It's worth noting, too, that the advantages aren't all for the teacher either. My students often remark that they enjoy being able to have classes at home. All of them are busy professionals, and they enjoy being able to come home and have class in a relaxed environment. And relaxed students learn better. Finally, teaching English online can fund and enable travel. I've alluded to this already. You could, if you chose, use teaching English online as a way to finance an extended vacation in another country or even fund travel around the world. The trick, they say, to travel is that you need both time and money to do it. And typically, if you have the time, you aren't making money. If you're making money, you don't have the time. Teaching English online allows you to set up shop wherever there's a decent internet connection. You can hop around the world, and your income continues. I'm doing that now. All you have to do is lay some minimal tech groundwork, find those first few students, get a few classes under your belt so that you feel more relaxed, and you'll be on your way. And I'm going to help you with all of that. So what exactly are you going to learn in this course? I've tried to make this course truly comprehensive, in contrast to other Teach English online courses out there. Here's what's included. Technical setup. Okay, now some of you just went all tense. I can feel it, but relax. There's a very good chance that you already have most or perhaps even all of the tech equipment and software that you need. But we'll go through it. And unlike some other courses about how to teach English online, I don't think it's necessary to have your own website. Certainly not day one. We're going to follow the KISS principle and keep things simple. So again, don't let the words technical setup cause you any worries. We'll talk next about getting yourself prepared to teach English. You speak English, but you may not feel ready to teach it. I'll help you get ready. We'll discuss whether you need a teaching certificate, some common mistakes that even native speakers make, so you won't, deciding on a niche. We'll discuss why your attitude and teaching style are so important, and more. I'll talk a bit about working with online schools. Now, throughout this course, I'm going to focus principally on working independently, tutoring students one-on-one. However, some of you may prefer to work for a school, at least initially. And these days there are many, and I mean a lot, of schools which match English teachers with students in virtual classrooms. And we'll talk a bit about those. If you have never done any kind of teaching before, or perhaps feel at a loss regarding how to market yourself, then a school can be a good place to start. I'll also talk about going out on your own, working without a school. In my experience, EFL teachers, whether they teach face-to-face or online, tend naturally to migrate from teaching for a school to teaching on their own. Even if they stay with the school for the benefits it provides, they often begin to pick up private students. So we'll talk about what this entails, with a heavy focus on marketing yourself and finding those all-important first students. Now, this is the extent of other courses which promise to teach you how to teach English online. And this is all very valuable information, trust me. But you may have noticed there's nothing mentioned so far about how to actually conduct a class or do class planning, what materials to use, or tips and techniques to use in class to keep students engaged. But in this course, we're going to go in depth, and I mean really in depth, about how to actually plan and conduct classes. So I've included sections on common issues that students have. While different students, of course, will have different deficiencies and different needs, there are patterns that you'll see. I'll discuss some of the common issues you're likely to see so that you can prepare to teach these topics to students. I'm going to talk about what I call an assessment chat. Before accepting a prospective student, I conduct an assessment chat. Done properly, it closes a deal, gets you and your student off on the right foot, and it'll also help you sometimes avoid signing up students when you shouldn't. I'm going to talk to you about scheduling. When you first start teaching, scheduling isn't a problem. You just want to fill those open slots in your calendar. But with time, scheduling becomes more and more important. Let's take a look at how to do it right. Then we're going to get into lesson planning. Look, it's tough to consistently give good lessons without good lesson plans. So I'll show you exactly how I do it, including some of my favorite materials. We'll talk about high-level planning and my exact procedure for creating great lesson plans without spending a lot of time on the task. Then we're going to get into talking about actually delivering classes. As a new teacher, how to actually conduct a class is probably foremost in your mind. Yet amazingly, other courses about teaching English online completely sidestep this topic. But I've created a lengthy section, the largest in the course, loaded with tips from years of teaching English. What I do just before a class, how I open a class and close one. Tips about teaching grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, even literature. I'll talk about the importance of soft skills and a lot more. I hold nothing back in this section. And I'll talk a little bit about administration. Teaching English may be just a sideline for you, or you may make it your career. Either way, you want to stay organized. So in this brief section, I discuss the things to know if you want to operate like a professional. In short, I've tried to include in this course everything I could think of that someone new to teaching English online would need to know. Even if you are experienced teaching English face-to-face, you'll benefit from the first sections about getting set up to teach online, and almost certainly also pick up a few tips for actually teaching as well. And even if you plan to teach entirely or mainly face-to-face, you'll find lots of great tips in the later sections. And I will continue to add to this course and improve it based on student feedback. I can say with confidence that if you complete this course and apply what I show you, you're going to be prepared to go out and become an excellent English teacher. Sure, there is no substitute for experience, but I'll send you out there ready to hit the ground running. Believe me, there are a lot of folks making a living as English teachers who frankly aren't qualified or just plain aren't good teachers. And they still find work because the demand out there is so high. But you, with what you'll learn from this course, can really stand out, really shine. You'll be able to earn more. You will have faithful students who stay with you and who will keep sending referrals to you even after you've told them repeatedly that your schedule is full. That's my situation today, and it can be yours too. So are you ready, Freddie? Shall we dive in? Then let's move forward and take a look at the technical setup required to teach English online.